Senator Lindsey Graham has been lobbying real hard to get Biden to nominate J. Michelle Childs as his Supreme Court pick. Now, as we've shared with you, she has a history of representing employers over the best interests of employees, even in discrimination cases. She has worked for law firms that have a clear mission to help corporations engage in union busting. So you kind of get a sense of why Lindsey Graham is pushing for this specific individual. And she is considered one of the favorites for Biden. So we'll see how this all goes. But there has been a pretty big update in the Senate that could basically lead to Lindsey Graham getting his way. But before we get to that, Politico interviewed Lindsey Graham about why he supports Michelle Childs. And he opens the interview with a story that is not true. I'm speculating that it's not true, but let me go ahead and read it to you and you can judge for yourselves. He says this: 3 guys in pickup trucks came up to me and said, "She seems like a nice lady. I'm tired of this Harvard-Yale stuff. The great equalizer is the garbage dump because everybody's got to throw out garbage." I was just struck by what they thought. No, 3 guys in a pickup truck did not come up to you. It didn't happen. It's a lie.
Okay.
I would not print that.
No, this is the funniest story ever. And Politico's hilarious for printing it. I mean, if I was a reporter, I would have been like, well, Senator, that's an obvious lie. That's a preposterous lie. So can you tell us what actually happened? So he said 3 guys in pickup trucks. So he's by the garbage dump, we don't know where. Guys in pickup trucks pull up, presumably to throw away their garbage. They recognize Lindsey Graham as a senator. They know that there's a Supreme Court opening. They know the person who is 3rd most likely to get that opening. They know her by name. They know that she did not go to Harvard and Yale.
Totally.
And then they really like her and they wanted to tell Lindsey Graham that. There's a 0% chance of that story being true.
But look, we might be unfair, so I want to make sure we cover our bases. There could have been a pickup truck soiree where these gentlemen consider J. Michelle Childs to be a household name. So much so that they are fully informed on her educational history.
Oh, you know what, you're onto something, because he might have been at a donor fundraiser, and just to have fun, since the politicians will do anything for them, they make them go dumpster diving. And they're like, hey, the check's at the bottom of the dumpster. Go, let's watch Lindsey scrounge for it. Oh, by the way, we like that corporatist one, okay? We like that she didn't go to Harvard and Yale. Use that talking point, get in the dumpster. Okay, that's the only way this story has a chance of being true. Lindsey Graham, you're a freaking joke. What a ridiculous story you told. And Politico, do some real reporting.
100% on the political point. The one thing I want to say though is be cautious of anyone who markets Supreme Court nominees as blue collar.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing happen right now, not just with Senator Lindsey Graham. Representative Jim Clyburn, a Democrat, has repeated the same nonsense. And what they keep pointing to is the fact that she didn't go to Ivy League schools. She went to state schools, state colleges, which is fine.
Who cares?
But like, what is her history? What is the substance behind her rulings? What kind of work has she done as a lawyer? That's what fascinated me. That's what we covered on the show. We gave you details about what her work history really looks like. Listen, someone like Lindsey Graham and also Tim Scott. Tim Scott is also very supportive of her. They're not gonna be in favor of anyone who has done good work on behalf of labor. That's the way that they were trying to make it seem. But it's abundantly clear that's not the case. Now, with that said, unfortunately, something happened recently in the Senate, which really has put the Democrats' slim majority in the Senate in jeopardy. One of their own has suffered a stroke. So this is Senator Ben Ray Lujan, a Democrat from New Mexico serving his 1st term. He suffered a stroke and has required surgery to relieve brain swelling. Fortunately, his office reported that doctors believe he'll make a full recovery. Now, barring any complications, the senator could return to work in 4 to 6 weeks. The Democrats obviously want to confirm a Supreme Court nominee as soon as possible. And considering the fact that they would now need at least one GOP senator to sign on, well, they might be paying close attention to what Lindsey Graham is saying. They might be more willing to nominate her. Listen, I'm just gonna keep it real. Regardless of what happened, even if they maintain their slim majority in the Senate, I have no doubt in my mind that they would have ended up confirming a pro-corporate Supreme Court nominee anyway. Yeah. But this makes it even more clear to me that it's likely to happen.
Yeah, by the way, keeping it real. So first of all, we hope he's okay, obviously, and they say he's gonna be okay, that's good news. But keeping it real, he's gonna be back in time to vote. So they don't have to panic and pick someone that the Republicans like. If you pick someone the Republicans like, that means they're gonna work for corporate interests, period. There is no other alternative. Lindsey Graham isn't gonna pick a pro-labor judge to go on the Supreme Court. He's gonna pick someone who's for the average American worker and thinks your wages should be higher. He thinks your wages should be lower. There's no way that Lindsey Graham would, or any other Republican, Tim Scott or otherwise, would be in favor of a judge that would be within miles of the left, let alone progressive, let alone for the average American voter, okay? So they don't have to panic. If they panic and go, okay, we'll pick the corporate one, right? They always wanted to pick the corporate one, and they'll just be using this stroke as a sick excuse for doing what they always wanted to do. And in terms of the politics of the stroke, yeah, they're gonna, I guess, need his vote, but they might not because they might pick the Republican option, right? And so if they pick the Republican option, they don't need him at all. I mean, it's a Democrat and they're thinking of picking the Republican option. This is so sick. It's impossible to have any more disdain for the Democratic Party.
No, they're embarrassing.
They're the most so humiliating, embarrassing. You remember the main thing they told you? You got to vote for Democrats. You got to vote for Biden because the Supreme Court picks. So now he's thinking of picking a one that the Republicans want.
Yeah, no.
It's insanity. But anyway, so if the senator who had the stroke comes back, what do they, other than this pick, maybe, what do they need him for? They're not. Joe Manchin said right before the other guy had the stroke that Build Back Better is dead. That's a quote. Dead. Yeah. Okay. They're literally not going to vote on anything for 3 more years except the standard budget, defense, corporate, pork, all that stuff. But for all the things that Biden said was his agenda, it's already done. It doesn't matter if they have 50 senators or they have 1 senator. It doesn't matter. And by the way, it wouldn't have mattered if they had 60 senators. Obama had 60 senators. They still barely did anything. They passed the Republican version of healthcare. So it was literally called Romney Care before it was called Obamacare.
Yeah.
They're not gonna do anything.
Okay, now let's get back to Politico because we gave you that ridiculous made up story that Lindsey Graham gave them and they just printed it. But the take here from Burgess Everett. Burgess, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing? All right, let me give you a few excerpts from his Politico piece. He writes this, it's a graphic 4. Graham is stumping hard for Childs, arguing her public state school education pairs well with Biden's pledge to nominate a black woman. He's the most likely Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee to align with Democrats on a Supreme Court pick and send the nominee to the Senate floor with bipartisan support. And he's condemning his party's idea to try to block Biden's nominee for moving forward by obstructing a committee vote. I just don't think it's good for the process. Now, later, much later in the piece, Burgess was willing to admit that Lindsey Graham absolutely signed on to the efforts to block Merrick Garland from being confirmed in the Supreme Court. Okay, thank you for noting that. But the rest of the piece just makes it appear as though Lindsey Graham's different. He's different from the other Republicans. Here's another example. At a minimum, Graham still seems to believe in deference to presidents on nominations.
How can you write that?
How do you write that? How do you write that, Burgess?
I mean,
how do you write that, Burgess?
It's embarrassing,
We need to know. We need to know. How do you write that? Okay, more. He says this. Okay, so at a minimum, Graham still seems to believe in deference to presidents on nominations, despite his fury at how Democrats handled the confirmation of Justice Brett Kavanaugh and his swing from vociferous Trump critic to ardent defender. Okay, so I don't know. Brett Kavanaugh was accused of attempted rape. And Lindsey Graham, in an attempt to defend Brett Kavanaugh and distract from what was really going on, had a little temper tantrum during the confirmation hearing. I mean, he's comparing apples and oranges here, but he also quotes Lindsey Graham as saying, my job up here is to push back on the radicalization of the country, and if you can find common ground, do it. Oh, that's fascinating. Why don't we take a look at a quick compilation of Lindsey Graham enabling one of the worst and most dangerous presidents, Donald Trump, enabling all the bad behavior in his presidency. Let's watch that.
I actually like President Trump. He's been very nice to me. He's allowed me to be in his world. He allows me to give my 2 cents worth about different issues when he was president. This is his party. If you don't get that, you missed a lot at CPAC. Let's just be honest. The bad guys were afraid of Trump. He's the most consequential Republican since Ronald Reagan. It's his nomination if he wants it, and I think he'll get reelected in 2024. And I'm not going to vote for anybody for leader of the Senate as a Republican unless they can prove to me that they can advocate an American first agenda and have a working relationship with President Trump, because if you can't do that, you will fail. President Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and then some. President Trump is the most consequential Republican in the party. If Mitch McConnell doesn't understand that, he's missing a lot. As to President Trump, in that poll, you own the Republican Party, my friend. You are the hope of the future of conservatism, President Trump. Well, he owns the Republican Party. It's his nomination. The president has a hell of a story to tell about what he did for this country, and more importantly, what he can do. This is the party of Donald Trump. If you think otherwise, you're in for a rude awakening. If you play Trump, you're going to be a big loser.
If you play Trump, you're going to be a big loser. Let me just remind you of what Lindsey Graham said, and no challenge at all from the journalist here. My job up here is to push back on the radicalization of the country, and if you can find common ground, do it. Listen, the only place where there is common ground among Democrats and Republicans is anything that helps corporate America. Now, Burgess didn't write that. I think that that's objectively true, but that wasn't included in any of the reporting here. And look, to be fair to Politico, this narrative is repeated by corporate Democrats, like Dick Durbin, who said this: Lindsey Graham prides himself on independence and unpredictability. That, I think, is what you're seeing. And even Chris Coons jumps in with, Senator Graham has a long history of supporting qualified nominees. Before the last few years where nominations have become divisive, partisan and bitter events, I'm hopeful that Senator Graham is simply hoping to continue what was a long tradition of supporting qualified nominees.
Democrats disgust me. So they're helping Lindsey Graham do marketing for himself, while Lindsey Graham is kissing Donald Trump's ass 24/7. And Durbin said he has a history of independence. The guy's lips are affixed to Donald Trump's butt. They might be stitched on there.
All day.
Independence? Lindsey Graham? I'm on John McCain, whatever you say, I'll do it, whatever you do. Donald Trump, I love you, I love you, I love you. Independence? Lindsey Graham, independence. You guys are all a joke. Okay, and then when Burgess wrote that Lindsey Graham believes in deference to presidents, he blocked Merrick Garland for over a year. I mean, you put it like in paragraph 187 in your article, so presumably you know that. So why did you print in another part? He is known for not having deference to president's elections. That's just, and he was one of the most vocal guys in the Republican Party. No, we don't care if it's a Democratic president, we don't care about anything. We're not gonna confirm, okay? We're not even gonna have hearings. You guys are all a joke. And then finally, Burgess, you know what you could have done? You could have been a reporter and asked an actual question, a policy question. Oh, do you like her because she's pro-labor or against labor?
Exactly, no one has thought to ask that, no one. Okay, The American Prospect is the only publication that took the time to actually look at what she has done in her career. No other publication gave a damn, which was infuriating.
Yeah, and that would put Lindsey Graham in a tough spot, because he'd either have to say, yeah, I like that she's pro-labor, which would get him in a lot of trouble with his donors, or he'd have to say, no, I like that she's anti-labor. And now I know that he would evade the question, but it might help if you asked an actual question of a politician instead of kissing his ass for the entire piece. And I know that, by the way, because a bunch of guys in pickup trucks drove up to a garbage dump and told me what a bad reporter Burgess Everett was.
Oh yeah, I remember that debacle. Yes.
Yeah, no, it happened. Write it down, Politico. Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.